brought some of the books, and we had Stefan Lindner as a co-host on that show. Do you know Stefan? We're on, man, by the way.
I don't think so.
Stefan Lindner, German therapist. He came for a show, and it was a very good show. And then when Mark Vetty came here, the dog whisperer, I invited him. It was a very nice show. Very, very smart, intelligent man. Do you have pets?
Yeah, we've got 2 dogs.
Two dogs?
A little Foxy and an eye dog. Yeah, Border Collie.
What's their names again?
We've got Max is the little one. He's this little scrappy one. And then Chase is the big dog. But yeah.
Chase is the big dog.
He's such a softie though. It's funny. It's the dynamic between them, you know. It's like the little man syndrome and yeah. He's a big cuddly bear.
That's a great way to start. And by the way, we're live. Welcome to the Altbays Show. This is show number 184. 184. How cool, eh?
That's great.
So thank you so much for all the people watching us and all the people here on the table, on the studio. What's up, Trevor? Man. Woo-wee.
Just watching.
Tanya, Tyler, everybody. I'm going to do the proper ones, but I'm just going to say that I'm very happy that we're doing this thing for 1 year and I think 3-4 months. And It's been a cool journey with the podcast, with the magazine, putting people together. So it feels like a good way to start such a beautiful night. If you're watching us right now, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. That helps a lot our platform to grow. You can become member of our platform, so you can put some dollars there and support the team so we keep growing and bringing more cool people to the show. We are a podcast, so you will find us on all the leading audio platforms. We might start doing ASMR as well, just in case, to attract a new audience. We've been considering it. But meanwhile, we're publishing the beautiful Coromine magazine because it's fun too. So if you are in the Coromando, all over the Coromando, actually, we deliver the beautiful Coromine magazine collaborative project. We invite cool people from the community, and we also listen, obviously, from people who are getting in touch with us to write for the magazine because they have something cool to share. We praise educational content. If you want to teach something, we love storytelling, of course, but we love even more people sharing things that they know and things that they are passionate about. So that's where Coromine sits, my friends. And art, obviously. So we invite creative people to be on the cover, to illustrate the articles, which is pretty cool. So collaborative, suits us. And obviously, this would not be possible if we didn't have amazing people advertising on the mag and supporting. Not only advertising, but a lot of people, they support. They want to write, and they they buy pages, and it's cool. You can do amazing stuff with Coromines. We're very glad and happy to see where it's going. Jesus, water.
You squeezed all that in.
I'm a fucking salesman, motherfucker. Shit.
No.
Not really, eh? I said. Tanya Arnold from Lot of Love Plant Based on my left. What a pleasure.
What a pleasure. I mean, what else would a girl do tonight but come and sit next to you and our lovely mate Tyler across the table. Excuse me, husband, you're in the background.
Handsome too, eh? Trevor! Are you a good saleswoman, Tanya?
I can sell whatever you like.
Oh.
Say
That's
no more.
it. See, yeah.
Nothing more needs to be said.
This is something that I'm learning. When you're doing the sales, you gotta let it breathe. You gotta let people talk. Or you have to know when to stop.
Yeah.
And for creative people, that can be hard, because sometimes you have too much attachments to what you're doing, and then you end up talking more than you should. I don't know.
Sometimes I've been told I talk too much, and I've been told by some people, "Would you shut up and let me talk?"
You've been told that? Wow.
Yeah. By family members.
Oh, well.
Yeah. And sometimes I do have to learn to stop and think, let someone else speak.
Yeah.
So if I talk too much tonight, just...
In the kitchen, Tanya Arnold, in the kitchen. Are you the boss? Do you like helpers and people working with you, or you prefer the solo missions, you watching everything?
Depends. Sometimes I like to pull an all-nighter, and I'm in the kitchen on my own all night, and I love it when the world's asleep and I can just sit and listen to a podcast or I can listen to a class that I've done, or I can listen to music. But I don't mind helpers as long as they follow my rules. When it comes to food.
When it comes to food.
Yeah.
And then you establish a cool connection with the people working with you, right?
I do.
Like
I do.
they understand that you know what you want,
Yeah.
and they will help, and you allow space for things to happen as well, right?
Yeah, and I do allow some creativity, you know, but it's got to keep within the confines of what it is that we're making, so as not to confuse it.
Lotalove.co.nz. We had this amazing Kai, so thank you so much.
You're
have
welcome.
the boss is here, right?
Beautiful.
Yes. So if you are in the Coromando, if you want to put a group together to learn how to cook amazing plant-based food,
Hit me up.
hit me up.
She's the one.
Turn it up. Lotalove.co.nz. We always post cool stories, saying a big thank you to the people who bring food to the Altbays Show. So check out our Instagram account, and you see the beautiful potato pea curry with portobello mushrooms.
You're very welcome.
Thank you. And we got dessert.
It's a pleasure to feed you guys. So.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be fed.
For sure, the pleasure was ours.
Who's got this voice? You know, like we can hear this voice, but we cannot see the beautiful yellow cap, Mr. Illustrator.
Hello.
What up?
That's me.
That's me. How are you, bro?
I'm great. It's good to be here. Yeah. You guys have more than traded me. I'm on beer number 2, and we had a beautiful feast. That's
Thank you.
unbelievable. Yeah.
Good times, eh?
Yeah. I could check out now and feel great.
That's how I feel every day that I do this. I'm like, I'm ready for bed.
It's only just begun.
Thanks, bro. Tyler came here right at the start of the journey, eh?
Yeah.
It's cool, man. It was like, it was when we were thinking about the concept and all this stuff.
You guys were you had most of this stuff, but like it's evolved a bit for sure. Yeah.
Were you here right in the beginning, before your first show?
I didn't,
Wow.
I just came up to see the place, and then we had a chat, and they needed a logo, and we're like, yeah, okay, let's make it happen.
Oh,
And
that's
wicked.
wicked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was cool.
Tyler was
It's evolved a lot.
man, and we really appreciate it, man, because that was the time that I just missed acknowledgement, which is a horrible thing in life, right?
yeah.
And I remember that moment, and I'm like, when you're not in a place, and I didn't have a proper chat with Tyler about all the beautiful things that he did for us, because we are on a roll and things are happening, and then I missed a crucial moment to be thankful. And we've been talking about this show, so I just want to make that clear of like how much Taylor and I appreciate what you've done, because like you gave identity, and we chatted after.
Yeah.
But
For
it sits here, and I'm like, man, Tyler, every time that I look at what Altbays is like, and that logo, poof, speaking of it, speaking of the devil, rocks up. I'm like, yeah, man, there are so many hands, there are so many people who are collaborating for this to happen, for this thing to move.
He took 180 shows to get back to you.
Something like that. A bit longer.
He's been trying to get me back on for a minute, but I've had a crazy life, It's
Fair enough.
Back to the States and this and that. That was the one we were kind of scheduled in or about to, and then I was like, I'm actually going back to the States now.
Man, how is it to go back to see home? You're from Iowa, right?
Yeah. Originally, born in California, but I was pretty much raised in Iowa, and it was great to go home actually. Normally I travel around a bit, but I just spent time with my mom, spent time with the family, did some biking. I got weirdly into road biking, cross-state road biking for a little bit, and it was cool. I bought a bike as soon as I got back. I kind of got the fever, but we haven't really had the weather for road biking in New Zealand.
Not really.
Yeah, no.
You could put a raincoat on.
Put a raincoat on. It's more the slip outs.
Yeah.
And there's not much of a shoulder here. I don't know if you've noticed, but like you're clinging for dear life
Yeah,
to the
that's
edge.
true.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
It's like living on the edge, man.
Yeah. That's life.
Especially when there's no roads, then it makes even
Yeah. I know. Yeah. Where do you even go now?
Did you feel when was the last time before the last one? When did you go to America before this last one?
Well, it would have been pre-COVID, like just before COVID, because we were living in LA for a brief time and kind of made the call. Like COVID happened there a bit early. And so we were like, do we want to be stuck in Los Angeles, or do we want to go back to the farm for a bit? We didn't know how long it would last, but yeah. So we jumped ship and head on over, and we were kind of warning people at first, like it's going to be a bit of a shit storm, but then everybody's like, nah, whatever. And I think we were even a bit paranoid at first, and then it hit here pretty hard. It's crazy. Not so much COVID, but just all the lockdowns and all that stuff. And yeah.
Did you feel safe and comfortable and like as you used to be, or what New Zealand did to you made your relationship to America change and your perception?
What do you mean?
I'll give you an example of like I've been here for 10 years and I went to Brazil, I think after 2 years that I was here.
Yeah.
I already felt a bit like, oh, okay, this is different, like kind of lost track a little bit of what it is to look over your shoulder and be a bit more aware of the amount of people around you and what big cities bring. So like, I guess America.
Yeah, it's give and take. There's certain things I really miss still. And there's certain things that I'm like, wow, we're so blessed to be here and be able to still have that kind of safety that New Zealand, you don't really worry about anything. You don't have to lock your car, all that. And it's just, I don't know, maybe in Auckland, but
in some places.
I can't speak for all of New Zealand, but at least where we live, it's, pretty safe. Yeah, so, I don't know. It's give and take. Everywhere's got its pluses. Everywhere's got its minuses.
Have you been to Iowa, Tanya?
No, I've been to Boise, Idaho, but Iowa, is that like the farming?
Yeah, you would know if you were there because it would have just been miles of corn, endless.
And pumpkins, someone told me.
Pumpkins. Oh, yeah, there are a fair few pumpkins out there now. It's mostly corn and soybeans and like a bit of wheat here and there, but
And the reason why I think pumpkins, because probably back in 2011, we were in Italy on this tour going down the Amalfi Coast, and there was an American pumpkin farmer from Iowa.
Oh, right.
And I've always remembered him because he was very loud, very brash, going on about his pumpkins.
That sounds like Iowa.
Pumpkins.
Yeah, right.
But I knew it's like kind of farming. So.
Yeah, fully. Yeah, no.
Is that in the tornado?
It is.
Belt?
It is.
Yeah.
We lose a lot of houses. It's
Tell me a bit more.
scary.
So tell me a bit more about that
Tornadoes.
part.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's insane. Like I went away the first time I went traveling.
Sorry, Iowa. We're talking about
Iowa, or are you talking about the tornadoes?
Yeah, but that's the area you're talking about. Your area where you're from.
Yeah. When I first went away, and then I kind of, I think I was away for like a month or something, and I just saw on the news that a tornado had come through, and so I quickly kind of tried to get back home to visit and that, because none of the phones were working. All this, it took like the hospital out, half the school, like several apartment complexes and things, and it's really wild. There can be a row of houses, and it's quite like precise. It can just rip that house up, and cut on through. It's not necessarily like total disaster all over the whole thing. It's just wherever it kind of decides to travel, it just totally uplifts houses, cars, a whole bit.
That's kind of freaky because sometimes I've watched those storm chaser programs.
Yeah,
and
right.
You can see that, the house next door can be completely complete.
Yeah.
And the one is obliterated, right?
It's super wild.
Yeah.
It's really surreal.
How
I mean,
big,
everybody
bro?
has basements. Everybody has basements.
How large? Like how big are we talking? Like what's...
It depends on the tornado. Some of them like really shred whole towns, and then some of them, they just sweep up a few cornfields and whatever. But like, I mean, they're big.
Have you
can
been in
see
one?
them. Yeah. Oh, we
Yeah.
used to chase them around in cars as kids, high school kids.
Here we go. Off we go. That's what I was. That's what I wanted to go.
We're stupid kids, We're traveling. You kind of know the direction generally, like where the winds kind of. They can switch quite quickly, but like you sort of get an idea of.
Oh my God.
Is there a slang for it? Is there a way that you guys would say, like chase the tail? Like, come on, some American gems on Altbays. There you go, guys. Learn something.
Yeah. No, it's we did have a lot of fun with it, and I used to enjoy watching them. Like, it's quite cool, and it's weird. It's very eerie. All of a sudden, it will switch from like hot and humid to cold, like instant, and then the wind will just die off. It'll go from super windy to nothing, and then you're like, oh yeah, everybody get inside. Like it's gonna. You just know.
And then when you're in it, is it something like the pressure of it, or is that? I was thinking
when you're in the tornado.
Well, if you're
you don't want to be in
Close
it.
by.
but like
But
if
close
you're
by, right?
sheltering from it,
Yeah.
like I've heard something about the pressure.
Yeah,
that
that's the thing, and a lot of people can feel it too,
Yeah.
and their in their bones and that. If especially people that have like arthritis and things like that, it really affects all that stuff. So, yeah, crazy.
I don't want to be in one.
No, they're not. They're not fun. They're not fun.
No.
They're kind of cool from like an idiotic teenager perspective,
Yeah.
but then when you get a bit older, you're like, no, this sucks.
It sucks. Well, nature
There's
does
something
it.
everywhere.
Nature
you know?
does its thing, eh?
Yeah, you've got
Like, at the end of the
earthquakes, you
day,
got
right?
fires, you've got
Yeah.
floods and
Like it's not good for
tsunamis.
us as humans. Our perspective of being
Yeah.
washed off is
But
not
it's a
fun.
bit, it's a
but,
bit
like,
cleansing. Like those things do. Sometimes I think they exist for a reason. It's just unfortunate that we're in the way of them. You know, same thing with fires out in California. Like you know,
Oh, totally.
it's
Floods.
a cleansing thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's massive, eh? It just like
Yeah.
goes pretty much every now and then. Like it's a thing, right?
Yeah, there's a season. It's like, oh, this is tornado season, and we all know, like, oh yeah, everybody just might have to run to the basement during these few months or whatever that tornadoes can happen. And yeah, I mean, there's freak times, but for the most part, you know when the season is. Yeah.
What about the pot season? Can you grow weeds there in Iowa?
It's still. Oh, for sure, farmers do. For sure, it happens.
But is it legal? Is
It's
it
not.
one of those?
It's not
those
legal,
places?
and it's a place where it's still classified as like a hallucinogenic, like a hardcore drug.
Oh, really?
And so
Tell me
it's
more about Iowa.
Potters.
Tell me more.
Yeah, it's really
Wow.
it's really unfortunate. They haven't really caught up to speed there.
Is it because it's religious? Is it religious state?
It is kind of. It's
Yeah.
actually just north of the Bible Belt, but it sort of still
Yeah.
falls in that kind of realm. But I don't know if it's necessarily the religion or just like it's also because it's so heavy in like the Monsanto corn farming world that I think that they're trying to keep hemp
Yeah.
out more than the pot. I don't think the pot's so much of the threat really. But then also, you know, a lot of the medical communities around there too. Some of the
Yeah.
biggest medical schools come out of the Midwest. And so there's also that controversy around, you know, they're trying to suppress marijuana because obviously you wouldn't need as many pharmaceuticals with that in the game. Yeah. You know, it's this ever kind of.
Off we go. Here
Yeah.
we go, brother.
Yeah, I know.
Do you get more aware of the damages that Monsanto causes to a place when you're out of there?
For sure. I just talked about that. I just talked about this the other day. Somebody asked me, I think we were just going around and talking about things that, you know, were really weird that we never experienced until later on. I never knew blue water to be like a real, or clear water to be a real thing. You know, I thought it was like something they photoshopped in movies and stuff, because throughout the Midwest, the runoff from the pesticides that they have to spray on this crop that's modified because the soils run out, it runs off into the water, and the water is all just brown. You know, you have
Wow.
they have restock all the lakes and things every year because, you know, life doesn't sustain that well. And the species that do survive are pests and things that you don't really want anyway, you know? So it has an impact for sure. You can see it firsthand. My brother did a whole paper on it in college, and more or less showing that the pollution was far worse in the Midwest than it is in LA and New York City. You know, it's crazy. You think of
Wow.
these like high polluting cities with all their cars and things, and it's
And
like
that's all
nobody
the
thinks
food
about all the
belt, isn't
farming.
it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And
the-
I wonder if that's why, you know, like in this day and age, not just there, but everywhere, why there's so much gluten intolerance and, you know,
Yeah.
celiacs and all that,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
the wheat's not, you know, and all the things, the soil's
I
no
can't.
good.
I find it hard to believe it's
Yeah.
the food that's the problem.
It's the soil.
The soil is depleted. We have to put things into the soil. We
Yeah.
have
It is
to.
the same thing at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
We're talking about the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where it's coming from.
Yeah. It's pretty wild.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a thing for sure, and it's very tightly gripped by, particularly by Monsanto. You know, he had his company had a really effective but horrible way of kind of trapping farmers by, if their crops cross-pollinated, they would threaten to sue the farms for having their seed, because they save their seed for the next year, and so because it's patented seed, and so they would either go under or fold and use his seed and go through it. So now everybody's kind of under that little umbrella. Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
they do a patent, like how do you say, like they make it their own, right?
Yeah, he
There's a-
patented the
patented.
the GM seed. Yeah. Pretty clever, pretty sick, but it worked for sure.
Wow.
Yeah. And people got to feed families and stuff. Of course, the farmers are
Yeah.
just like, well, what do you do? You know?
Man, do you like? There's a thing with consumption. I had a dear friend, who got back from Italy, and she was like, "Wow, you know, people talk about Europe and all the beauty," and she was like, "I was just amazed with the consumption, with like how much people consume in cities." And every time that I talk to people who go to, not every time, but most of the time, people who go to America who are not used to the Western way of living, like they are shocked by the amount of consumption that a place like America goes.
It's pretty wild. Like food portions, even in restaurants.
They're like supersized.
It's crazy. I always forget. That's one thing you talked about before, like perspectives changing when you're over here for a while. Man, when you go back home and you order a plate of food, you're like, this is 3 meals. Like, what is going on here? This is ridiculous. I mean, it's great because it's also like $10 for 3 meals. So you're kind of like, sweet, I'll just save the other 2 for later. Yeah. But after a while, you would adjust to it. And I think that's why people are getting a bit larger out there.
And the problem is that a lot of the people, they won't save for later. They will throw it away.
Throw it away or eat it all there. Depending on your mentality around food, you're either... I was raised not to waste. So I was always a bigger kid when I was younger. And so I ate the food. Like, you finished it on the plate, like, leftovers.
See, my mum's talked about that. Like, she's an only child. She's 74 now. Yeah. But she was dished up big meals, and it's like, you eat everything. Yeah. And now she talks about, I mean, she doesn't eat as much now, but she talks about, oh my God, I'm sure I don't eat that much, but because she was raised like that, and you spend your life eating like that, and then it's,
It kind of ties into the whole scarcity thing, and it's just around, like, as well how people, just used to live.
Well, you're lucky you've got that because children overseas have nothing to
starving
eat,
kids in Africa. I keep hearing all these, the starving kids, man. You got, for some reason, me not finishing my meal, it's still not going to the starving kids. But
probably the same people that like might say that you go to hell. Like, it gets all there sometimes. No, don't do that. Go to hell. What?
I'm like, so if I don't eat this, are you gonna mail it to those kids? Like,
gotta do it. Yeah,
right.
There's a lot of things that we take when we're young and we don't realize how much that affects us when we're adults, because then we grow up like, this is me, I'm an adult now, I know what I'm doing. You have no clue, bro. Like, we all have to, I think the unlearning process, it's more important than the learning process sometimes, like letting things behind.
Yeah, for sure.
And traveling more, experiencing lifestyles probably supported you a lot with the way that you see life nowadays.
Yeah. I always knew I wanted to travel, and I powered through 2 years of college. They were horrible. I hated it. I did fine, but I just, wasn't my thing. And traveling was my education, 100%. Like, I learned so much. And it's things that I'm still trying to, grasp and that come back to me now, because you do learn so much. We sort of spoke earlier that, like, it stacks up after a while, and when you finally have the chance to unpack it, I mean, you've got years worth. Even just from little trips.
I think that's the best thing you could even give your children, like I took my son out when he was 13 just for 8-9 weeks, overseas, but I think he learnt more then than what he did, because he wasn't interested in school. But I think education is travel, and you don't know until you go and experience all these different cultures, like, wow, I've come home and shit, I'm bloody lucky what we've got here, or oh my God, I didn't know about that, or it's amazing travel.
It changes so many perspectives.
Do you have some stories that you remember, places that you've been to that like really humbled you, like you think things you saw or lifestyles that you experienced, communities you met?
I mean, where do you start? All of it, really. I mean, like it's it's something that everywhere you go, and there's such a different thing in each place as well. But we talked about Nepal for sure. That was one that's very humbling. And I was there not long after all the earthquakes and that, so that was pretty wild to kind of be there during that whole phase. And it's weird also after a while traveling to be there as a tourist. That kind of breaks through another level, because there's the level of like, wow, this is fun, we're traveling, we're doing crazy cool stuff, and then there's another level. It's like, oh wow, these people are experiencing like real life stuff here. This is it's beyond just my vacation now.
And I find that intriguing in the world that we live in with capitalism, that sometimes people will think that by going to a place and experiencing a lifestyle that it's taking them, leading them to enlightenment. And then they love to say, oh, and it's so cheap.
Oh yeah. If you can save on enlightenment, man, that's the one.
Oh,
Get that
like,
special.
That little island right there in the corner of the world, and it's cheap.
20% off enlightenment.
Man, and the kids are there doing the Zara and the Nike shirts and the shoes, and this is so peaceful, man. Cannot even see them.
Yeah.
So, you know, like
It's a hard, yeah.
You know, so it's just things that you learn as you go, right? You travel and then you see what people are complaining about. This is a great exercise to do. You go to a place and just see what people are complaining about.
Yeah.
What's up? What's bothering you? You know, like let's have a look. What's bothering you? What's bothering this community, these people? You understand a lot about the country, eh?
Yeah.
Do you check American news? Like, do you go over that stuff?
Not really. I only know what people tell me. Yeah, my wife probably follows the news better than I do, but I don't. Just have no interest in it. I know that most of it's BS anyway, so I don't really. But I never liked it as a kid, and it wasn't because I was in any way, you know, aware of what was going on. It was more just I found it super boring. Like I just didn't click with it at all. And then even growing older now, I'm like, oh, I really just don't see the point, you know.
And do you think a lot of it's really negative and you get sucked into that?
Yeah, that's the other thing.
Like,
It does.
you know?
It dwells on it, and especially in the States, you know, it's like, oh, we've got another shooting like every other day, you know. It's like there's all this stuff going on, and it's the way that it's set up that I don't like as well, because it's very negative. It'll have this kind of horrible story, like a school shooting or something, and then they just like straight away show you a video. Oh, it's Chippy the hamster. He's gonna do a backflip. Oh, how cute is that? You know, it's this weird kind of thing where they sort of like bring you back up just to keep you watching because they don't want you to get too down. I don't enjoy it. I don't like the experience. I find it horrible. Yeah.
Did you have a gun in the US?
I have 2 shotguns back home and a handgun, but they're not really, I don't use them. My dad was a cop and he gave his handgun to me, though it's still not even in my possession. And then, yeah, I got a shotgun at like 14. I think I learned to shoot at 12. Yeah. But it's just, it's something that seems weird now, but it's so normal there. It's so normal.
It's a way of life, isn't it?
Yeah. And it wasn't like, it's not like they put a shotgun in your hands and kick you out the door and they have fun, kiddo. You go to a hunter safety course and you do a whole thing, and you don't go out on your own until you're a certain age and stuff like that. I mean, there is more access to guns, and I get why that's a problem for sure. But yeah, it's odd kind of thinking about it now because I have no use for a gun anyway, but